How has this knowledge about my family's connection to slavery changed me? It made me recognize what so many people have been saying for so long, and maybe I didn't hear it as fully. How our history, the history of slavery, really influences where we are today. The week that I was reading this bound manual, my dad bound it, he inherited, I think, about 500 pages. So I had this heavy book on my lap, reading these letters, understanding this, was 2 days after Philando Castile was shot. That was the same week as Alton Sterling's death, shot by police. That was the same week as the Dallas shootings. And an immediate parallel that I saw in the letters and in the discourse I saw on social media and just going on in the world around me was that these letters were really about white people going about their lives, trying to get back their fortune, trying to connect with family, focusing on trade and everything that matters to them, and in a context where Black lives did not matter at all. I mean, we're talking one word is the only clue of this whole drama. And when I got more perspective, when I reframed the story and saw the reason that Samuel Moffett was in debt, the reason these people are far away and writing letters to each other, the only reason that he is not living in the house his father built here in Portsmouth is because of a slave ship in which most people or all people died. And that wasn't even part of the dialogue in the letters. So what haunted me that week reading that and making that discovery was the normalcy of slavery. And I'm like, oh, this is, white people going about their lives, loving and caring and winning back fortunes. And it made me think, well, here I am in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, visiting my dad, going about my life. I'm on vacation, seeing my family, and I'm deeply troubled by the racial inequities of my country and still going about my life. What am I going to do? How am I going to be different than my ancestors? What have I inherited from our history, from our systemic racism, our society? What have I inherited? What am I perpetuating without even meaning to perpetuate it? The question always is, well, what do I do with this information? I can't change history. What do I do? Right? There's no point in just sitting here crying about it. It's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have children. I have 2 boys. And the last couple of years, every time another person of color, mostly Black men, is shot by police officers, I think about, am I talking about this with my sons? And I notice that I have the privilege to say, maybe my 8-year-old's too young, I'm not going to talk about this with him yet. Maybe my 10-year-old is too young, I'm not going to talk about this yet. And I think, if my son were not white, if he were Black, Latino, I would absolutely, for his safety and security, have this conversation immediately. So having that realization made me think, I need to step up in terms of how I open dialogue with my own family, with my neighbors, with my community about race. It's hard to do because I think, well, who am I to speak about this, and I should be silent and let other people speak. Well, yes, I should let other people speak. And I need to own it. I need to own history. My hope is that we can have a shared vision, no matter what people's history or politics or whatever are, a shared vision to look clearly into the past, asking what happened and how does it shape our psychology today? How does it shape our world today? Be critical readers of history, recognize how our current politics and ideas can shape how we see history, and that does us a disservice ultimately. So that's where having discourse, having dialogue, having different perspectives where we challenge each other and say, okay, well, that's your perspective. but I'm hearing it this way. Okay, well, that's your perspective. Great. The more perspectives, the better that we can get to go towards more. Here's the way I think about it. I can interrupt myself. This comes from a Buddhist philosophy. If you think of a lake, this is from Thich Nhat Hanh. If the lake is still, you see the reflection of the mountains and the trees as they are. If the lake is rippled, everything you see is distorted. And so where we get stuck, I think, looking at the history, especially of slavery, is we get emotion and uncomfortable and anger, sadness, whatever, from wherever we're coming from, and that builds the ripples, so we're not seeing history clearly. So how do we create a space, for the emotion, and then say, okay, deal with your emotion now. Take a deep breath. Let's find some stillness in the lake and just look. What evidence do we have? What questions can we ask that will deepen our thinking? And how is this history relevant to today? I really believe the way forward for us is for all of us to own the divides we have.